Somewhere along the way, many of us started living like we were running out of time. But here's the truth we forget too often. Life was never meant to be a race. If you've been tired lately, this message is for you. I remember a season of my life when my days were full, yet my heart felt empty. I had a calendar packed with plans, a phone buzzing nonstop, and a quiet ache I couldn't explain. I told myself this was just how life worked. Keep moving, keep achieving, don't slow down. But one evening, sitting alone at the kitchen table after everyone had gone to bed, I realized how exhausted I truly was. Not just physically, but deep inside. What I learned slowly was this: peace doesn't arrive when everything is finished. It arrives when we choose to pause, when we notice the warmth of morning light, the sound of our own breathing, the simple fact that we are still here, enough just as we are. You don't need a new life to feel alive again. You don't need to run faster to be worthy. Sometimes the most meaningful step forward is a gentle step back, into stillness, into presence, into yourself.
I didn't always believe that slowing down mattered. For most of my life, I thought staying busy meant staying alive. I believed that if my calendar was full, if my hands were always moving, if my mind was always planning the next thing, then I was doing life the right way. I worked hard. I kept going. I measured my days by how much I accomplished and how little time I wasted. And for a long while, it felt right. It even felt noble. But somewhere after 40, something began to change. I wasn't unhappy. I wasn't failing. I was just tired. Not the kind of tired that sleep fixes, the kind that settles quietly in your chest. It showed up in small ways at first. I'd sit down in the evening, finally alone, and feel an emptiness I couldn't explain. Weekends came and went, yet I felt like I never truly arrived anywhere. Conversations became shorter. Silence felt uncomfortable. Even rest felt like something I had to earn. I remember one morning clearly. The house was quiet, no emails yet, no phone calls, just a cup of coffee cooling on the table. Sunlight came through the window and rested on the floor for a moment, then moved on. I stood there, watching it, and a strange thought crossed my mind. When was the last time I let myself simply stand still? That question stayed with me longer than any deadline ever had. You see, no one teaches us how to slow down. We're taught how to push, how to endure, how to keep proving our worth through motion, especially in a culture where success is loud and rest is often mistaken for weakness. So we learn to live with tension in our shoulders, noise in our heads, and a quiet ache we don't talk about. I carried that ache for years without naming it, until one day I couldn't ignore it anymore. There wasn't a dramatic breakdown, no big failure, just a growing sense that I was living on the surface of my own life. I was present everywhere, yet deeply absent from myself. And that realization was unsettling. So I started making small changes, nothing heroic. I stopped filling every moment. I learned to leave space in my days, not for productivity, but for breathing. I walked without headphones. I ate without rushing. I let silence sit beside me without trying to distract it away. At first, it felt uncomfortable, almost wrong, like I was forgetting something important. But slowly, something else appeared in that space. Clarity, a softer way of seeing, a sense of being enough without constantly doing more. I began to notice how much beauty I had been missing. The way mornings unfold when you don't rush them, the calm dignity of a simple room, the comfort of an honest conversation that doesn't need fixing. Life didn't become smaller when I slowed down, it became deeper. And here's what surprised me most. The world didn't fall apart when I stepped back. The emails waited, The tasks returned when needed. What changed wasn't life, it was my relationship with it. If you're listening to this and feeling that familiar heaviness, I want you to know something. There's nothing wrong with you. You're not broken, you're not behind, you're responding naturally to a life that has asked you to run for too long without rest. Slowing down isn't giving up, it's coming home. It's choosing to live from the inside out instead of constantly reacting to the noise outside. It's remembering that meaning isn't found in how much you manage to squeeze into a day, but in how fully you inhabit the moments that are already there. You don't have to change everything. You don't have to disappear into the mountains or redesign your life overnight. Sometimes peace begins with something very small, a pause, a breath, a decision to stop proving and start listening. After all these years, that's what I've learned. A quieter life doesn't mean a lesser one. A slower pace doesn't mean a weaker heart. It simply means you've decided to live, not just exist. And if this story feels familiar, maybe it's not by accident. Maybe it's a gentle reminder arriving right on time from someone who's been there, telling you that it's okay to rest now.
One afternoon, I sat still longer than usual. No phone, no plans, just silence. And that's when it hit me. I had spent years rushing through moments I would never get back, all for a finish line that kept moving further away. Retirement didn't slow my mind. Success didn't bring peace. What I needed wasn't more time. It was permission to stop racing. I didn't come to that realization early in life. It came after decades of doing what I was told was right. Work hard, stay busy, provide, achieve. I did all of it. I built a career, raised a family, paid the bills, showed up every day even when I was tired. From the outside, my life looked full. Meetings, responsibilities, accomplishments, conversations that filled the calendar. But somewhere along the way, my inner life began to feel empty. Not dramatic emptiness, just quiet neglect. I remember waking up one morning and realizing I couldn't remember the last time I enjoyed the sound of the house being still. Silence had started to feel uncomfortable. I filled it with news, background noise, plans for later. Later, I told myself, is when I'll rest. Later is when I'll feel calm. Later is when I'll finally enjoy life. But later kept moving. Even after retirement, when the alarm clock no longer mattered, my mind kept racing. I woke up with invisible to-do lists. I felt guilty resting. I felt anxious doing nothing. It was strange to realize that I had left the job, but the job hadn't left me. That afternoon, sitting alone in silence, I finally allowed myself to notice how tired I truly was. Not the kind of tired that sleep fixes, the deeper kind, the tiredness of always needing to be somewhere else, someone better, someone more productive. I thought slowing down would happen naturally with age. It doesn't. Slowing down is a decision. And for people like us, who were raised to believe our worth came from effort, it can feel almost wrong. I used to believe peace was a reward, something you earn after you've done enough, after you've given enough, after you've proven yourself useful. But peace doesn't work that way. Peace shows up quietly when you stop pushing it away. I started small, painfully small. 5 minutes sitting on the porch without checking anything, drinking coffee without reading the news, letting a moment be unfinished, letting a day be good enough. At first, my mind resisted. It whispered all the things I should be doing instead. But slowly, something softened. I began to notice things again, the way light moves across the floor in the afternoon, the sound of birds arguing in the distance, the comfort of breathing without needing a reason. I realized how much of my life I had lived one step ahead of myself. We rush through meals, rush through conversations, rush through years, and then one day we wonder where they went. The truth is, no one ever gave us permission to stop, so we have to give it to ourselves. You don't need to become someone new. You don't need to simplify your life perfectly, or move to a quiet place, or understand some complicated philosophy. You don't need to fix yourself. You just need moments where nothing is required of you. Moments where you're not improving, achieving, explaining, or proving. Moments where being alive is enough. If you're listening to this and feeling tired, not just physically, but in your spirit, I want you to know this. There is nothing wrong with you. You're not behind. You're not broken. You're simply human in a world that forgot how to rest. Slowing down won't make you irrelevant. It will make you present. And presence is where life actually happens. The days ahead don't need to be louder, faster, or more impressive. They just need to be honest, quiet sometimes, imperfect, lived at a pace your heart can keep up with. That afternoon of silence didn't change my life overnight, but it changed the direction. It taught me that meaning isn't found at the end of the road. It's found when you finally stop running long enough to notice where you are. If this message feels familiar, maybe it's because part of you is already ready. Ready to rest, ready to breathe, ready to stop racing. And maybe, just maybe, that's not giving up. Maybe that's coming home.
What we lose when we rush. When life feels like a race, we stop noticing what's right in front of us. We eat without tasting. We talk without listening. We rest with guilt. Many people my age don't talk about this, but I know you feel it too. The pressure to keep up, the fear of slowing down, the quiet worry of falling behind, even when there's nowhere left to go. But here's what experience teaches you. Peace doesn't come from moving faster. It comes from finally arriving where you already are. I didn't learn that early in life. I learned it late, the hard way. There was a time when my days were full, but my heart felt empty. I had routines, responsibilities, schedules neatly packed from morning to night. On paper, everything looked fine, maybe even successful. But inside, there was a constant hum, a low, restless noise that never truly went quiet. I woke up already tired. I went to bed thinking about what I didn't finish. Even moments meant for rest felt like borrowed time, something I'd have to pay back later. And the strange thing was, I didn't know what I was chasing anymore. I just knew I couldn't stop. Maybe you recognize that feeling. I remember one ordinary evening, nothing special at all. I was sitting at the kitchen table, eating dinner alone. The food was warm, the house was quiet, and suddenly I realized I couldn't taste a single bite. I had been staring at my phone, scrolling through other people's lives, comparing, absorbing, rushing, even while sitting still. That moment stayed with me. It wasn't dramatic, no breakdown, no grand revelation, just a quiet thought. When did I stop being here, even when I'm here? People don't warn you about this part of life. They tell you to work hard, stay busy, keep moving. And for a long time, that advice works. It builds things, it gets you places. But no one tells you what happens when the momentum outlives the meaning. Somewhere along the way, being productive replaces being present. Rest starts to feel undeserved. Silence feels uncomfortable. Doing nothing feels like failure. And yet, the body remembers what the mind forgets. I started noticing it in small ways: the shallow breaths, the tight shoulders, the way my thoughts raced even during calm moments. It wasn't that life was cruel, it was that I had forgotten how to receive it. Slowing down didn't come naturally. In fact, it scared me. Because when you slow down, you hear things you've been avoiding. Old questions, old tiredness, old longings you buried under busy days. And at first, that silence feels loud. But if you stay with it, gently, something shifts. One morning, I stopped rushing through my coffee. Just one cup. I sat by the window, I watched the light move across the floor. No phone, no agenda, just warmth in my hands and breath in my chest. It felt unfamiliar, almost awkward. And then, unexpectedly, it felt honest. I realized how much of my life I had been living ahead of myself, always in the next task, the next worry, the next version of me, rarely in the moment where my feet actually stood. Here's the quiet truth I've learned with time. Most of what we're chasing isn't ahead of us. It's underneath the noise we keep creating. Peace isn't a destination you earn after checking every box. It's something you uncover when you stop running long enough to feel the ground again. For people our age, slowing down feels risky. We're taught that time is running out, that we must stay relevant, useful, impressive. But what if relevance isn't about speed? What if usefulness is simply being fully alive in the life you already have? You don't need to change everything. You don't need to move to the countryside or quit your job or reinvent yourself. Sometimes the deepest change happens in the smallest pauses. Eating one meal without distraction, listening to someone without planning your reply, resting without explaining yourself. These aren't small acts, they're acts of remembering. I'm not telling this story because I figured it all out. I still catch myself rushing, I still forget, but now I notice sooner, and when I do, I come back, not with judgment, but with kindness. If you're feeling tired in a way sleep doesn't fix, if you feel busy but disconnected, if life feels full but somehow thin, you're not broken, you're not failing. You might just be overdue for your own presence. Slowing down isn't giving up, it's choosing to finally be here. And maybe, just maybe, that's where the life you've been looking for has been waiting all along. If you're listening to this and feeling overwhelmed, let me tell you something I wish I'd heard earlier. You're not behind. You're not late. You're not wasting time. You're living in a season that asks for less noise and more presence. Slowing down doesn't mean giving up. It means choosing what truly matters now. I didn't understand that for most of my life. For years, I believed the quiet voice inside me was a weakness. I thought rest was something you earned only after everything was finished. I chased the next deadline, the next promotion, the next sign that I was doing enough. From the outside, it probably looked like I was moving forward. Inside, though, I felt like I was constantly running late to my own life. I remember one evening clearly. I had just come home after another long day. The house was quiet, but not the peaceful kind of quiet. It was the kind that makes you hear your own exhaustion. I sat at the kitchen table, still wearing my shoes, staring at nothing in particular. My phone buzzed with another notification, and instead of answering it, I just turned the screen face down. That small movement felt heavier than it should have, almost like admitting something I'd been avoiding. I realized I was tired in a way sleep couldn't fix. Not the kind of tired that comes from working hard for something you love, but the kind that comes from living on autopilot for too long, from saying yes when your body is quietly begging for no,
from filling every empty space with noise because silence feels uncomfortable. Maybe you know that feeling. For a long time, I thought slowing down meant falling behind everyone else. I worried that if I paused, the world would pass me by. But something unexpected happened when I finally did slow down, just a little. The world didn't disappear. My worth didn't vanish. The people who mattered most didn't leave. What did fade was the constant pressure to prove myself. I started noticing small things again, the way morning light settles on the floor, the sound of my own breathing when I wasn't rushing anywhere, the relief of doing one thing at a time instead of 10 things halfway. These moments didn't look impressive, they wouldn't make a good highlight reel, but they felt real. And real, I learned, is enough. At this stage of life, many of us are carrying invisible weight, years of responsibility, expectations we inherited and never questioned, roles we played so well that we forgot who we were underneath them. We've been strong for a long time, capable, reliable, the one others lean on. But even strong people need stillness. There's a quiet wisdom that comes with age, if we let it speak. It tells us that life isn't meant to be squeezed for productivity every minute of the day, that meaning often lives in the unremarkable moments we used to rush past, that peace doesn't arrive all at once, it shows up gently when we create space for it. Slowing down isn't about doing less for the sake of it, it's about doing what aligns, choosing conversations that nourish instead of drain, letting go of commitments that no longer fit who you are now, understanding that rest is not laziness, it's listening. I used to think I had to earn peace. Now I see that peace was always available, I just didn't make room for it. If you're in a season where your energy feels different, where your priorities are shifting, where the noise feels louder than it used to, there's nothing wrong with you. This isn't failure. It's awareness. It's growth. It's life asking you to adjust your pace. You don't have to explain your need for quiet to anyone. You don't have to justify choosing a simpler day. And you certainly don't have to keep running just because you always have. Some seasons are for building, some are for striving, and some, quietly, gently, are for coming home to yourself. If today all you can do is breathe, notice, and be present, that is not wasted time. That is living with intention. That is wisdom taking shape. So wherever you are right now, let this be a reminder from someone who's been there. You are allowed to slow down. You are allowed to change. You are allowed to choose peace. Not later, not someday, but now.
Redefining a meaningful life. A meaningful life doesn't always look impressive. Sometimes it looks quiet. A cup of tea in the morning, a walk without a destination, a day that doesn't need explaining. Life isn't a race. It never was. It's a collection of moments, and you don't need to outrun them to be worthy of them. I didn't always believe that. For a long time, I believed the opposite. I believed a meaningful life was something you had to prove, with titles, with achievements, with a calendar so full you barely had time to breathe. I believed rest was something you earned later, after you'd done enough, become enough, survived enough. I spent years moving quickly, not because I loved speed, but because slowing down felt dangerous. If I stopped, I was afraid I'd hear the questions I'd been avoiding. Questions like, is this really the life I want? Or worse, who am I if I'm not busy? So I stayed busy. On the outside, everything looked fine, productive, responsible, successful enough. But inside, something was quietly wearing thin. I woke up tired even after sleeping. I felt rushed even on days with nothing planned. I'd sit with my family or friends, nodding along, while my mind was already racing toward the next obligation. It took me a long time to realize this truth.
You can be doing everything right and still feel wrong inside. The moment that changed me wasn't dramatic. No breakdown, no big decision. It was small, almost forgettable. One morning, I made a cup of tea and stood by the window. The house was quiet. The street was quiet. For the first time in years, I wasn't late for anything, and I felt something unexpected. Grief. Grief for how many moments like this I had rushed past. Grief for how often I had mistaken noise for meaning. Grief for how rarely I had allowed life to simply be enough as it was. That morning didn't fix my life, but it cracked something open. I began noticing how exhausted people around me were. Good people, caring people, people who had done what they were told. We all seemed to be carrying an invisible weight, pretending it was normal. We spoke proudly about being busy, as if exhaustion were a badge of honor. But deep down, many of us were asking the same quiet question: when did life become so heavy? Somewhere along the way, we were taught that a meaningful life must look impressive from the outside, that it must move forward, upward, faster. But no one told us how loud that kind of living can be, or how easy it is to lose yourself in the noise. As I began to slow down, just a little at first, something surprising happened. Life didn't collapse. The world didn't fall apart. People didn't disappear because I wasn't constantly available. Instead, I began to notice things again. The way morning light rests on a kitchen table, the comfort of a familiar routine, the peace of a walk with no destination and no headphones. I realized how rarely I had allowed myself to be fully present without turning the moment into something useful. There's a quiet dignity in an ordinary day, one that doesn't need applause, one that doesn't need to be explained. Meaning doesn't always arrive in grand gestures. Sometimes it whispers, and if you're always running, you'll miss it. I know many of you listening are tired, not the kind of tired that sleep fixes, but a deeper kind, the kind that comes from carrying too much for too long, from being strong without rest, from showing up while slowly disappearing inside. If that's you, let me say this gently. You are not falling behind. Life is not keeping score the way you think it is. You don't need to prove your worth by how much you endure. You don't need to justify rest. You don't need permission to choose a quieter version of success. A meaningful life might look like fewer plans and deeper moments. It might look like saying no without guilt. It might look like choosing peace over productivity, even when no one applauds. There is courage in slowing down. There is wisdom in enough. There is beauty in a life that feels calm on the inside, even if it looks simple on the outside. I'm still learning this. I still forget sometimes. But now, when I feel the urge to rush, I pause and ask myself, what am I afraid of missing? And often, the answer is nothing that truly matters. Because life isn't asking us to run faster. It's asking us to be here, right now, in this moment, breathing, listening, living. And that, quietly and gently, is more than enough. If this story felt familiar, you're not alone. Many of us forget this truth until life gently reminds us. Slow down, breathe, let today be enough. You don't need to hurry anymore. I remember a time when my days were full, yet my heart felt empty. I was always moving to the next task, the next goal, the next version of a better future. From the outside, it looked like success. Inside, it felt like quiet exhaustion. I didn't notice how tired I was until even the things I once loved began to feel heavy. One morning, nothing dramatic happened, no big lesson, no sudden change. I simply sat still, holding a warm cup of coffee, watching the light move across the room. And in that small moment, I realized something I had forgotten for years.
Life was never meant to be rushed like a race with no finish line. Peace doesn't arrive when everything is perfect. It arrives when we finally give ourselves permission to stop chasing for a while, to listen, to rest, to be present with what is already here. If you're feeling worn down by the noise of modern life, I want you to know this: you haven't failed, you're human, and maybe, just maybe, this season is gently inviting you to live a little slower and a little more true.